What's up and welcome back. Our next match has the top of Group B having an absolute showdown. Team Cruelty taking on QoR. Chaka, QoR needs overtime for most of its matches. Seeing how these two teams are so evenly matched, almost seems like OT is going to be inevitable. What's the win con for QoR against this undefeated Cruelty?
Well, I think the main thing is, actually, you kind of left this out. They did get their first regulation win. Yeah, it was against Shreds, the worst team in Group B, but they still got it, and they looked really good with Brio, specifically picking into the Blackbird a lot. So I think if they can utilize the shield play and play around each other quite well, and also not really favor really aggressive plays and giving Cruelty ones, which is something that a lot of casters talked about during Element 4, and being the fact that Cruelty favor a lot of 1v1 and aggressive gunfights as their win condition, then that's something that QoR can effectively play against, is working on their team play a little bit, which is something that they utilize quite well against Shreds.
Yeah, and even though it has taken us to the overtime, Chaka, QoR has really demonstrated that they've got the skill to get it done, right? They're sitting at the very tippy top. Do you think that it's going to be a close match for this second one? Is it still going to have that back and forth feel to it?
I think so. I think this could be a close game. I also said that up next versus JJ and Co could be a close game, just considering JJ's recent run of form and the fact that that Mr. B didn't leave that team and they've been playing with subs as of tonight. But that wasn't a close game, so I could be wrong here. But I think that this should be a close game just based off of both of these two teams being at the same level, and I think both having the same type of qualities.
Okay. Well, all right, everyone. We got the man, the myth, the miracle worker himself. Moses will be joining us for a little bit of a pre-show insight onto what they've got for their next.
It's not really my thing. I'm not going to be as entertaining as JJ was, I promise. Yeah. No, there wasn't really too many surprises. Both the teams we played, they played kind of how we thought they would. And then Shoes, I mean, were better than we were. So, it is what it is. Cruelty can be fun, bro. They're always fun to play just because they just run around and play ranked. And then we like to keep up and play ranked. So, Rai and Zonky actually have me on a leash. They've had me on a leash for like 3 years now. I'm not even kidding. Like, I've beat those guys like twice in like 3 years because it's the burnt turkey curse. I don't know who's on Shreds, not like in a disrespectful way. I don't know. The rush we have right now, I'm really excited for. We just have a lot of individual talent that if me and Cohen can like find a way to make work, I think we'll be really good. So I'd say I'm confident where it's going to go. Yeah, we just thought it was time to make a change when it comes to the team. We kind of felt like we hit a plateau. We just kept struggling against the same type of opponents, like people who just swing. And then I feel like if you swing Bryce, you die. Hold this, I'm doing this. Just like the simple micro shit we got to be better at, because if we lose to a team like that again, I think it's just going to get real wicked. So we got to fix it.
So from the darkness into the light, he said it. It's going to be a TDM match, a ranked off. Galu, what are your thoughts?
I was going to comment on I was doing his best Nosferatu cosplay, right, hiding in the corner, but it didn't really end up making a difference. You suddenly just get the light switch turned on halfway through. I mean, we're breaking all continuity here, boys. You got to follow the rules of reality TV, but at the end of the day, I think it was really interesting insight, right? It's nice to know a little bit of the background stuff behind why roster changes are made, because, you know, from the outside looking in, sometimes you're like, oh, well, they just kind of fancy it. So knowing that it's like, you know, sometimes you need a bit of that shake-up when you have that sort of the pit that you keep falling into, right? They mentioned teams that are a little bit too fraggy. It's always nice to see that they're always thinking about these things.
Okay, so Galu, gonna stick with you here. Team Cruelty, they haven't had a loss yet. They had a great showing against Outlast in their 7-2 victory, but they struggled with overtime win against bottom of the board's Shreds. Now in the match against QoR, do they continue this undefeated streak here?
Yeah, I think this is like one of those things you have to look at with LATAM teams, right? It's that weird inconsistencies. Yeah, Shreds haven't looked phenomenal, right? They've had their ups and downs, but a really good game against Cruelty certainly pushed them over. For Cruelty, I'm still looking at a team that has a couple games in hand, has a couple tough opponents coming up as well, but this is their chance to really break free of that middle pack, right? They're sat in the middle, they've got those 5 points, but it's only 2 points above them that QoR is sat on, and they get to play with just a little bit more freedom, having only played 2 games in this group stage so far. I'm looking at Cruelty as the team that finishes this group at the top, and this is their chance to push themselves ahead. They get this win here, they secure a nice 3 maybe 2 points if it goes OT. I think that's also completely acceptable. We've seen some decent performances from QoR, and obviously, Chuck, you mentioned it, right? They just got their first win, so that's going to be really looking good for them on their uptick. But for Cruelty, I mean, they're coming off of a heater of a LATAM season. They had a tremendous run in Element. They're going to keep that going in Crucible. Cruelty got this game in the bag, baby.
Well, then it's time to set the stage for match 2. As we dive into the map bans, the pressure's on for both of these teams to make that strategy. They've got to outwit their opponent even before the first round begins. Chaka, what is standing out to you about the bans? Where do we not want them?
Well, I would have probably thought that Cruelty would have maybe want to go to Labs, but that's also one of QoR's best maps. QoR don't want to go to Lair. Not only is it a permaban for them among most NAT2 teams, but it's also a pretty good map for most Latin teams. That's including not only the Brazilian teams, but also the Mexican teams, the Argentinian teams. It's really popular amongst Latin, and they showcase just how to play really aggressively, especially on the defense. They know how to play around Lair, so it makes perfect sense that they get rid of it. QoR played Bank yesterday, but they didn't really look exactly too convincing on it. And I thought that this would be a really good map for Cruelty to go on, but they go on Clubhouse instead. This is a low preference map for both teams, and to play it here today puts them both at an even ground, which is probably what Cruelty want because they know that QoR are a really aggressive team that likes to give up isolated ones. They are a very slow moving team, and they tend to play around each other quite well.
On this map.
I love Clubhouse. I think it's going to be a really good site to take for this showdown. I think it's going to lean very much into that sort of standard siege. How aggressive can you get when you get those windows? And I think for a team like Cruelty, that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing is get to see just a little bit of that cheekiness shine on through in their play style. I could have seen something maybe a little bit more explosive, but it's going to be a good middle ground for both these teams to frag out on.
Okay, Chaka. Final thoughts. We're going to get a little bit of prediction out of you. Where does this one head to in the end?
Say Cruelty, Chaka, be based.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Cruelty. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's not because Golu told me to say it. It's because I really do think that Cruelty, compared to QoR, are I wouldn't say more polished, because I think they do have some dysfunctions when it comes to like the way that they do play. Like there is still like some really big like team communications. I even said it, they like to play off of isolated aggression. That is their win condition, and so they have to ensure that they're able to win their gunfights against QoR, especially if QoR give up isolated 1v1s or isolated gun plays, which is going to be very rare for them because they like to really play off of each other, and they like to go extremely slow and play really close to sight when they're on defense.
Okay, well, the default map, Clubhouse, the stage has been set. The lobby is ready. It's one more match, and it's coming at you. Chaka, Galu, take us away. One final thing.
Clubhouse after a cafe. I mean, we're getting our tour of the classics, right, Chaka? keeping it nice and cozy for us. But I am excited to see this. I think Clubhouse is a really fun map to watch, and I'll look forward to seeing that team kind of slowly change it over time. Basement obviously going to be a big staple for this, I think. And I mean, it's another map where you do see those shields really come forwards, right? We saw last time it was a Monty and a Blackbeard ban, so maybe we lose two of them again this time around. That Blitz gets leaned on for aggressive plays, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really see the Blitz being utilized. Oh, actually, we did one round, so
A little bit, yeah. We got the one-off.
yeah,
We're playing
yeah,
Highlander
one-off.
rules.
So we'll see what happens in this game of Clubhouse, because you have more. Well, that's interesting. Well, you have more map-specific bans, especially on the attack. I think last night I did see when I was casting Clubhouse. I can't remember what game it was, but they did ban the Maverick. Blackbeard gets a ban, so Maverick is free, left up to the attack. I don't think I've seen Cruelty play really any Maverick before. So for them to get rid of the Blitz against QoR, makes a lot of sense to me, because I think they banned Blitz quite a bit during Element 4. It was either Blitz or they had like some other like really weird bans like Glass or Sins, which is something that they've played quite a bit on their attacks.
Okay. Kaid and Tuberam gone. I have to say, when I saw the tube go, wasn't expecting the Kaid to follow it, Chuck. Right? Normally you'd see one or the other. It shuts down that power couple, and then you move on with your life, right? But Kaid's still very powerful outside of that one combo, right? You still get to play a hatch lot around Moto if you want to, if you're not committing the 2 EMPs to it, and you have that good information, or you bring in the Thatcher, who did escape the bans, someone who does sort of, used to be the Permagon, now with it, that addition of the impact EMPs and shields being mortifyingly scary, you get to see that re-entry in. Can be quite powerful here.
It's also interesting that because both the Kaid and the Tuber are banned, that, well, not only have QoR picked into the Bandit, but they're also using the Bandit for extended play. So they want to waste time on the roam, not only just by maybe getting rid of a few drones, maybe using like the legions to slow down the overall process of the map clear from Team Cruelty, but they're also utilizing the Bandit up top in order to deny them from opening up CCTV so that they really have no easy way inside of the map. What the hell?
Well, that's
Yeah,
an opening
typing.
kill coming through. I don't even know if he knew he was getting that kill. Just spraying through a window, through a wall. But you'll take it. Moses clearly not very happy that his teammate's gone down so early on. I mean, you're not even 30 seconds into the round yet, and you've already lost one. And it's that Legion. So, we got 8 goo mines to throw out these days. Oh, he's right round the corner. Azami has no clue. You've been bamboozled, brother. And Ivan gets a second and just continues storming down main stairs. Has a very forward position now. There's one above you as well. This is exactly the kind of chaos that we wanted to see. Candle waiting patiently, though. Not giving up with the game just yet. He's back on the Kiba. He's waiting to see who comes through next. But they're going to go into the corner on the right. He slips through at just the perfect timing. He gets into Freezer here. He finds one. Skimsy goes down, looking for a second on a run out, but they should be trying to wrap around and lock in on his position now. Spraying into the kitchen window, but can't quite land the shots. Hits both shoulders of Even and swaps to the Deagle, but Pyrox shuts him down, and once again, Team Cruelty taking that control.
Yep, have the man advantage. They have the Monty up. That's something that they try to utilize throughout the rest of Crucible. Pyrox finds a kill onto Enrio. And not only do they have to push down dirt with the Monty in play, even if he's held back by the fire, it provides enough pressure for Cruelty to end the round off and find the very first hero on Clubhouse.
It's a great start for them as well, right? I mean, immediately off the rip, they get that initial pick onto the Legion. So you've already got the opener. You find a second so quickly behind with his army trying to contest onto main stairs, but just completely unaware of the wraparound that's coming through from Ivan. You get into strip, you sneak up behind them, completely rip this defense apart before they've even really had the chance to begin. And it doesn't matter what you're trying to do on site, once you hit that 5 versus 3, that 5 versus 2, once the Valkyrie, well, 4 versus 2, once Valkyrie gets traded off, right? Really good work by Team Cruelty just to be able to find these picks so early on. It's that quiet but quick aggression paying off so massively.
I wonder if QoR are going to do the same exact thing that they did last time, fully extending up top. It seems like they are. They've introduced the Mira. I think the overall game plan for this round is just to not die so quickly in isolated positions, because
that's a good game plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I talked about. Just giving Cruelty isolated gunfights. That's exactly what they want, and to give them that in a very opening round by going for a spawn peek, putting somebody in the main hall with no protection around bathroom. I think Valkyrie was still roaming up there too. It's just one way to give Cruelty what they want.
Again, on these windows upstairs, there is the full extension on the roam, but just moving quickly, jumping through. The drone gets jammed, but it doesn't matter. Should have heard the footsteps. Definitely knows there's someone up above, waiting for on the rotate. Which way do you go? A second, wrapping around into construction, pushed out by Matombo on that Monty, but's dropped down into bar, and taken down Skimsy, who should have been waiting for the cutoff, but instead finds himself useless.
And that's the bug down. That's your primary vert off of the board. here for Team Cruelty. So when it comes to getting that bathroom pressure, even if they do get this first floor control, which they're off to a great start, Ivan finds Brios, and because of that, Rival has to try and back off, but he dies, and a couple of kills happen for both teams. Cruelty find themselves in a 3v3 now. Yes, they have full map control, but they have really no vert to work with or to set up around like the main floor. So while they will get this hatch open, I wouldn't be too surprised if they just try to go for not a hatch drop over by Armory, but maybe for one player to try and challenge down blue, while the rest of the team, Demonte and Pyrox, takes the front side over by main stairs.
Ooh, lining up a Nitro Cell as well. You got a Banshee there for a bit of extra information. Wait patiently though, and I'm liking that we're getting these cutaways, showing Team Cruelty constantly on the drones, looking for information just to get, set off that asymmetry. Kiva's still in close proximity. You want to just shoot that one out so that you can see down towards AKs, especially with the Grimbees coming through. Again, it's all about isolating picks, but Inrio finally lets loose on the Nitro Cell as we feel the corpse just fly down. But again, a quick push down main stairs. You send the defense into disarray, dropping down the hatch amid flashbangs and bees. One tucks back on the left. You want to go round, protected by small box, but the Azami gets aggressive. Candle gets one, goes for the Deagle, lands the shots as well. They couldn't pick the angle checker. They had to go left or right, and instead they just got stuck in the middle.
It's excellent protection in the very last minute of that round for the Azami playing behind the AK's position, utilizing the Azami barriers in order to make that gunfight a lot harder for Team Cruelty, who really had no utility towards the end of that round to deal with the AK's position as they tried to go for not only the kitchen hatch drop, but also the push down the main stairs. And again, I mean, while they did end up with a 3v3 with some map control, they didn't really have time to make any vertical play above the hallway to utilize to be able to utilize the hatch drop effectively. So it made it harder to really spot out plays like the Nitro Cell happening all the way in from church. And again, because they didn't really have any utility to deal with the player behind AKs utilizing those Azami barriers, it made it harder to go for that one-on-one engagement that the Grim was trying to do. Plus, you also had the protection in from blue. That was just an excellent late round played by QoR Gaming in order to find their very first tier.
Yep. I agree. They did a really good job in isolating that at the end, right? But for Team Cruelty, right, this is a team which leans so heavily into that aggression checker, right? They always want to be holding W. They always want to be going forwards. It's the first time in a while I've seen that big indecisive moment. They know where the Azami is, but they're both not holding W. It's all you have to do. Just walk at him. They're throwing flashbangs and Grimbees deep into blue. There's no way for the Malusi to get back quickly enough. If you just commit to bodies, you maybe trade out, but that's fine. You then have the power position, covered by the keepers, sat behind AKs. You have that control, especially because we've been seeing kind of a quirky setup from QoR, right, where they're reinforcing off a lot of this church wall, and it does make that blue take slightly less impactful should you lose its control. But when you're stuck in there, not ideal.
Yep, seems like Pyrex has joined us. QoR finally win a basement. I say finally, it only really took like 2 rounds. So like they win it based off of the second. They're gonna go all the way up to second floor, and it's very weird because last round they utilized the mirror for the church triple, which caused a lot of, I would say a lot of issues. It caused like small issues when it came to pushing down main for Cruelty when they did try to go for that execute towards the end. Now this time they're not going to be utilizing the mirror, especially for, well, usually you would see the mirror being placed over by gold or bathroom in order, 1A, to watch the highway window as the site is getting pressured, and then B, for bathroom, just to be watching jacuzzi, just in case Cruelty may not have any utility to deal with the mirror window. And if they don't, then they won't be able to walk in. Now that you don't have that, that's considerably less protection, specifically for one of the highway windows in master bedroom, but also the jacuzzi breach. So if they get that wall open, they could probably just like, it's probably a reach, but they could just like walk in for free without no intel on that position. Up.
Garage wall popped open. You see the debris flying through Deimos POV. Brios, again, wants to contest early on, has a drone on him and is able to slip back. Deimos looking up, not down. Disappear into the basement now.
And Cruelty just droning. I mean, they spotted him out early. Rival, or Brios rather, is gonna go up for a flank through main. I don't think Cruelty, despite shooting out that camera, they don't know about this.
Now playing it slow as well, Chaka. So just adding to this lack of awareness, because they want to go up and take that cash control, still afraid of the flank down through the basement, but he's in bar. FNAT going off on red stairs, so again, information gathered by QoR, and they're going to fall off. They're a minute 10 in, there's no need to risk anything at this point, right? You fall back to the next round of the defenses, you still got vault set up, you still got plenty of reinforcements and angles to play, but now Brios as well, just hucked around, going for the flank, but Skimsy's patience! Yo, I was about to say, you're not being rewarded, you hit a door frame twice, but finally, you take down Brios.
That's the player that was flanking down below. That's a Nitro Cell gone as well for QoR Gaming. So now when it comes to dealing with this extension and playing down below, because QoR seemingly want to really keep this vertical pressure in their favor, just in case of like maybe it could go for a late flank or to deny the plant. They can't really do that with the Goyo because he doesn't have impacts and no Nitro Cell available here for QoR to play behind in terms of late round utility. Ivan down below grabs a second, and that's another first 4 player now dead, giving an isolated gunfight away to Cruelty, and also a body now in favor of them.
Reach and Jacuzzi opened up. Moses just standing in no man's land. Brother, you're gonna get fragged. Pyrox as well as... Well, everyone decided to stand in the open that round, and Cruelty just hit shots.
Yeah, I mean...
I jest a little bit. I'm being a little hypercritical. Ultimately, it was really good information from Cruelty that kept lining them up. Frags, right? They have a drone hidden in bar. That catches 2 of them. I love the use of that Deimos as well, right? It's the little bait. They're kind of far away, they'll scan the Goyo. That will make them feel that they're safe to move around. But it's the buck just round the corner who's gonna get you.
And I was like, I thought at the beginning of the pre-show, I was like, oh, and that's the one thing I complimented QoR on, was just playing around each other really, really well and playing very passive, something that Cruelty can struggle quite a bit with. If nobody gives Cruelty gunfights, then sometimes they just will not have any progression in their rounds, especially on their attacks. Now that we're seeing just how QoR are playing on defense, the biggest issue that I have is the fact that they just feel so isolated from each other. I mean, there's nobody with on red to protect Brios, so I mean, he could have almost died, on the bandit. He could have almost died if he didn't get away in time. Valkyrie goes for like a flank down below. She's by herself with Cruelty having like full info against her, no trade potential, and I mean that's just something you go for even if you are by yourself, so it's not too surprising that she went there by herself. It's just something to point out by giving Cruelty like isolated ones like that and just giving them opportunities to win gunfights. It's something that QoR have been struggling with so far, that Cruelty have capitalized on, and it means that right now that's one of the main reasons why they're in the lead.
Waiting for the trick as well now. You have got the Thatcher on board, and its timing, it's as soon as you drop that battery down. A lot of pressure on Moses here to try and get this done. With Selma's being thrown on both sides, he's committing to doing the double in spite of the Candela, and he's going to do it perfectly. So much credit for just sticking it out. They had a drone on him as well. That had been a frag grenade. You might have been able to scare him off, but loss of sight. Not going to fear Moses.
And also, they have no way of like applying any vertical pressure. They brought Buck last round. That was primarily over by Kitchen, but at one point he was by Stock, he was over by Lounge, in order to apply vertical pressure on that cast extension from QoR. You don't have that, so there's no way of moving the Bandit off apart from a few Candelas, but he was already on the wall placing his Bandit charges by the point that the Candelas came in, so they were kind of late anyways from Team Cruelty. So now they're really struggling to get the wall open. They have no more Selma charges and only one exothermic, so I mean, they're gonna have to try and make this work somehow.
Ready to send in the flashbangs and just try and rush up to the mirror window. Pyro's gonna jump in and blind himself, but I guess he takes Moses down in the chaos. Works out well enough. Imrio does take Fatal down though, so not going to be quite easy sailing from here, especially with Candle, that well-timed aggression in tandem with Brios. But they are boxed out of their own sight now, with the plant going down behind Jim Locker. Want to try and rotate in towards it, and they do get it. Using that mirror window to gather the intel they need. The Adrenal Surge coming through, but again, all this information being relayed from the bulletproof camera that couldn't be dealt with as Candle continues to get aggro, and now they wait. It's a 1 versus 4. You should be able to finish things off pretty swiftly. You walk forward, you get spotted out on that mirror window, and of course, you get gunned down shortly after.
And something that I talked about quite a bit was the mirror windows being quite useful. I mentioned that like the mirror window was really useful against that one highway window in bedroom, but it can also be useful for when Cruelty want to go, or for when the attack want to go for a play in gyms based on the weights, just because you have the footholds and the mirror window that looks directly through the footholds, allowing you to line up your shots precisely. That's what Core Gaming used. And most notably, Cruelty, the other thing that they also struggled with, not only when it came to having really no counter for the mirror windows, was just going for the cache overextension because they couldn't get the platform wall open. And so that meant that the highway control that they did have, in order to try and work around the mirror window in Secret Sash, in order to work around some of the site positions that Core did have, and also construction, they couldn't really utilize the highway pressure effectively because you have like no cache control, and Core have all of that control against you in order to counter the window play.
Different take now, right? They've got this castle, they have the extension up above. I like seeing them trying a couple new things. No mirror this time as well. It was something that we saw Team Cruelty, just, in all honesty, just kind of run through. Right? They didn't really care. Again, thrown it early on, spotting out a player inside a strip, but they don't know he's moved into billiard, so the moment that castle barricade gets ripped open, he's going to get gunned down. You still have Candle committing on this deep hideout. Again, the ability to teleport back down, presumably to the basement, where they've left that second Scopo shield up. But a nice little bait and switch later to lining up for Pyrox.
Oh my
He's going to
God.
find a second as well onto Brios. Looking for a third nearby as well, as the first of those logic bombs has come off cooldown. He's ready to send out the rings, should he need to, but for the time being, slowing down to let Ivan catch up. A little bit of damage from this castle, who is going to drop down into the basement. Now you've only got 3 members left. You want to play just a little bit more concise.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't have been mad at Core to try and find more picks, but I think on basement, you can try and back off and see if Cruelty make a mistake when it comes to site execution. Moses staying upstairs to see if he can try and find something, dies almost immediately, because one thing that Cruelty have been consistent at is their information gathering.
And Della's flying in now as well. Both of these defenders in close proximity. He's in blue with no way out. He doesn't know where he's going because his entire screen's lit up white. And you just run down that main corridor to find the final kill, that you need to push them further. And Team Cruelty extending now, wanting to push that lead a little bit further. 3 attacking round wins for them on Clubhouse. If they can get that 4th, I think they're smooth sailing from here. It's just a little bit of extra gravy, really.
Well, Core do have like a poor attack, to be fair. At least from what I've experienced in Crucible. Not Crucible, sorry, in Element 4 from what I've been seeing, especially in their last playoff game against TSG, where they really struggle with just doing like fundamental things. So, and Clubhouse is quite a fundamental map. I think they what map was it where they struggled to do it? It was Consulate, and Consulate is a really strong map for Core. So, yeah. We'll see how well they can play into the fundamentals of Clubhouse. It's quite a fundamental map. You have to get the walls open. You have to like do the cache over clear if you're wanting to utilize highway pressure, especially, or actually just deal with the cache player or CCTV player really effectively. If you are not going to do cache over clear, and you're still wanting to utilize highway pressure, very first round, or sorry, 6th round for Cruelty. Yep.
Fantastic point, Jack. But have you considered you could just hold W more? Because that seems what Cruelty are doing. Right, let's be real. There's the checklist, there's the way you're supposed to play Clubhouse and Air Quotes. As Pyrox is bringing out the Maverick. It's that tool you wanted to talk about before. Throwing an EMP to almost bait him on. Oh, I really like this. But they can't quite find the kill onto Moses. And he's Palu'd the breach! Jacka, he Palu'd it! He's put it on the middle! For those of you who aren't aware, Liquid player Palu is infamous for putting an exothermic charge on the middle of a breach where it doesn't matter where the bandit puts its battery, right? If he puts it on left or right, it still hits part of your charge, it still goes away. You need to commit to a side. And if you're going to be ripping open half the floor, spoiler alert, that's the side you're putting it on. That should be an open breach. And
Yep.
Bruce has been healed by Brios as well, so all of that was
Yep.
for legit nothing.
I don't even think they're gonna get the wall open now. Yeah, they've completely rotated to the other side of the map.
They got a bit with the Selma, I think.
Yeah, they got a. Oh yeah, they got the left part of the wall. You're correct. But they did lose Ivan, and that is your vert op now off the board. So when it comes to applying pressure to the cash position that Cruelty are now rotating to try and get the con single wall open, that's gonna be pretty hard to do without any vert pressure. But Pyrex just jumps in.
Okay, Matumbo taking things into his own hands. He doesn't need the exothermic charge to make the opening. Flashbang's flying onto red again to try and lend some space to the rest of his team. But Brio shuts down Pyrox. That's trying to get aggressive on that construction breach, I believe. Skimsy low as well, as Ace is wandering through the middle but doesn't know who he's looking for. Brios and Candle duoing up on the rafters to take him down. Skimsy, very low on HP, going to rotate over to that main breach perhaps, but when you drop on down, that's going to give your location away. They're going to hear the drop. Want to try and find a split. Matumbo now able to open up that main wall, but there's two on rafters keeping Skimsy at bay for the time being. Waiting patiently as information on the drone comes through. They know there's at least one on red. I don't think they know the second. Both sets of defenders dueled up on top of each other. You walk into a three-way crossfire. Matumbo left alone now has so many angles to consider with that open breach. One on top red pops their head over green box, and that's going to be the end of the round. And it all comes down to a botched bit of utility at the start.
Yep. Platform wall not fully able to be open. Even despite that, they still have one section of the wall open. Cruelty try to go for like some weird isolated plays inside of the site. Pyrox jumps in the middle of CCTV, gets smoked by, well, a crossfire setup between a Raptors player and a garage window player that is on Raptors alongside him. It just didn't really seem like, although they get info that Cruelty had throughout their whole attacking rounds when it came to isolating players, QoR didn't really give them the opportunity to do that. And Cruelty just tried to like find gaps with no info when there wasn't any gaps to give up. They didn't really work any of the other map control. You still have the Maverick in play. You still have one EXO as well. They could have tried to open up Prawn single, maybe smoke off. If they had, I think they had smokes, did they? No, they didn't have smoke. Oh, that's really bad. I don't remember. But they didn't really apply pressure to Raptors, so they can't necessarily walk in from Con. There's just a lot of things that went wrong from the beginning to the end for Cruelty that really didn't allow them to utilize the construction control that they got towards the beginning when they did try to open up Con single. So that was just, at the end of it, a really odd round from Cruelty.
But out on the defense, right? And 3-3 is still a pretty good half for them, and still gives QoR plenty of room to play with as well. Already the aggression coming in from Ivan on this Vigil, hiding on the top floor, no utility invested around him as well. So it's completely possible that QoR don't spend too much time checking this area with their drones. They might just bank on the fact that it's probably safe.
Yep, I mean, they just use one Selma on the soft wall. That's going to open up CCTV quite easily and cause Ivan to run away. There is no cutoff setup on Secret. There was originally, but then he backed off after the window fully got shot out by a Cruelty player. And for the most part, there is no roam anymore for Team Cruelty. The full top floor, all the way down to the first, is now QoR's that can utilize the vertical play to now work against Team Cruelty on the site. Did it have info?
And again, right, you've already made this noise, this presence as Vigil, and disappeared long ago. there's still that fear factor for you. They're still worried about a potential flank, and now looking to transition this top floor control into the middle. You've already lost half the round to go, and drones now being sent down in towards bar. Kitchen hatch is being worked on though, Chaka, so a little bit of a slow start for them, but now we're going through the paces.
Yep, now they're utilizing the Habana pellets in order to open up the kitchen hatch. You still have the ace alive, so you can get the triple wall open to remove the church players, so that going for this kitchen hatch drop is a lot easier for them. The impact trick fails, and I think he did it 2 times just now. And so they get the kitchen hatch open, and now you have a way to work with. You're still going to have issues when it comes to clearing these Kiva barriers. The Habana is still up, so you have a way to deal with them. But the ex-Kairos are rapidly losing their lives as, you know, more hatches start to get open. So if they are going to go for this kitchen hatch drop, it's going to be really hard because I don't think they really have a way of dealing with the Kiva barriers set up.
You do still have 4 ex-Kairos, so you can take 2 sets of 2 if you want to clear it off. Drone coming through to give Rival as much information as possible before he commits to this kitchen hatch for the rest of the round. But look at the bunker position. Matumbo locked into the cupboards, just waiting for a drop to come through. So far, Fatal getting aggressive, trying to lend him cover, but it's 10 seconds left of the round. QoR have to move. Moses does find one, but now this is flood down the staircases. The numbers still falling in their favor as they work into the bar behind Church. Ivan, again, they've both gone for this idea of locking themselves out of blue, and you can see how much space it gives to QoR. Trying to go for a retake, but can't even get through the wall. No impacts. You've got impacts, brother. You could open it up if you wanted to, instead forcing themselves under kitchen hatch. Balls still in favor of QoR, as again on the verticality, Imria with the bearing 9 watches long corridor for the perfect coverage. Why are we so focused on blue? Why is there so little looking at main stairs? Why are both teams doing the same thing?
Yep, I mean, all it took was for Moses to find a kill into the single player in sight. Like you said, they're really focused on blue. I also noticed that they have literally, like, they literally did not have a mirror window. What are we...
Mitchell could have just impacted himself or rotate getting the church.
Yeah. Also could have utilized the impact as well to, like,
do anything?
Do anything. Like, on the planter, literally anything. All it took was for the mirror to die, and then the whole round fell apart for Team Cruelty. Because he was the only player in Church. I literally said, like, oh yeah, they still have the ace up, and they can use that to open up Church so that it makes it easier to drop down a kitchen hatch. Because if you have the breach open, then the Church player might just leave and go to blue, which frees up an opportunity for you to drop down a kitchen hatch and for there not to be a nitrocell used against you because you have that full wall open. The Church player dies. There's nobody in sight, and effectively nobody from Cruelty is able to watch the site because they have no mirror window on that wall. In blue.
They have the mirror this round though.
Yes.
Playing gym bedroom. Not too much of an extension for the time being. They've got little presence away, but we saw how much time was stalled out by QoR. Cruelty again are inside a cache, but much less heavy on the reinforcements. But they've fallen off already, right? They're just waiting for that first round of drones, maybe shoot out a couple and then disappeared. But he's gone back through. He's very indecisive.
I don't think, as well, Cruelty had any reinforcements over by CCTV. I think that's because they utilized all their reinforcements just for the cache extension, so that the bandit could play inside of cache. Well, not anymore. He runs away. That could have been a really good opportunity to bandit trick the Selmas in order to waste more time for QoR, who really had a big issue with time in the very last round, when it still came to clearing some of the utility around the first floor area, especially clearing up the hatches and whatnot.
2 Selmas used in opening up that cache wall, but of course Bandit immediately fallen back, and you still have the con single closed off, so plenty going on here for Team Cruelty, and again, you're only halfway through this round, and they're now getting control into cache, want to open up the single breach using an exothermic to do it. And Jacuzzi's still closed off, so they'll have to have the rotation come through at some point if they want to secure that space. Moses and Rival should be able to do it between the two of them, but Fatal, again, on this Bandit, we've already seen what the tricking can do.
No Castle Barricade available in this round for Team Cruelty in order to protect the Bandit tricking on the wall, so he has to have more upfront cover. Ivan is very popular for using the Scopos on any map. And especially on big maps like Clubhouse that have a 3-tiered.
Chaka, he's done it on the middle again.
I think he's gonna bandit trick this. Oh, yep, he did. I was just gonna make a point about how like Ivan really likes to play the Scopos, and now they can't even open up Jacuzzi because that was their last exothermic. Meaning that this is gonna be very one-dimensional. It's only gonna be from the construction side because they already cleared Cash and CC.
This is so fraudulent. You jump on through. So many kills falling in favor of Cruelty, because again, you got nothing to do, but Moses has made the landing stick. He's 1 HP, but still wriggling around inside of sight. Doesn't realize Pyrox has come round onto Shower Hallway. Candle last alive. Again, Pyrox just in a forward position, wants to hunt for that final kill and close the round, even if it's just a second earlier than it otherwise would. Again, Cruelty doing a really good job, despite a lack of utility being invested in just stalling out that clock.
Yeah, and also, again, if people don't understand why you shouldn't be breaching in the middle, it makes it easier to bandit trick. They banned the Kaid, so like with the Kaid, it doesn't really matter what side you choose. If the Kaid is activated and you place an exothermic on a wall, it's gonna get the whole wall and it's gonna zap the exothermic. Rather, if you have the bandit available for the defense, then really all you have to do is just place it on one side of the wall. And that's all you really have to focus on. That's the second time that a crucial wall has not been able to be fully opened by an exothermic because both teams have placed it in the middle. So they don't have Jacuzzi breach, and it makes their push extremely one-dimensional, which made it easier for Cruelty to close it out in the end.
Yep. It was unfortunate.
From your explanation.
That is exactly how and why bandit tricking works, right? You just pick a side. Yeah. Force the bandit to guess, right? Sometimes they get it wrong. I mean, I think they've been pretty spot on both times. I think it's likely they get it, but sometimes they are wrong. You also have highway window control, but they are back down to the basement now.
And ooh, this is interesting. So we've seen Ace and Habana before from QoR when attacking the basement site. They don't really have that this time around, which probably means that like maybe we'll see the Monty go either down main, which would be kind of crazy if he did, or just go down through dirt, which is probably more optimal. There's less to worry about footholds. You don't have to worry about somebody maybe playing in moto if the hatch doesn't get open, which shouldn't really be an issue because there is no Kaid on the board. There's just considerably less to worry about if you just go through dirt as a Monty compared to going down the main hall. But they are clearing the rest of this map, utilizing the Monty for the map clear, and this is something that you commonly see for teams in order to speed up the process of the map clear here against the defense.
The real question is, the logic bomb's coming through. I was about to say, do they know he's here? But with the phone call going, there's no way they don't. I mean, Ash must. They're not responding to it. He's climbing up the ladder. No, not like this. He can't land the shots at first, but does finish it off eventually. Another in close proximity, and Rival rips open the construction single and gets gun ready in time to make sure Ivan goes down. Overall, a pretty worthwhile trade, especially if you're able to get Skimsy too. Not quite sure how he's presented himself. That must be from the back of the secret staircase, just drawing a long line over the dining table.
And it gives not only QoR the opportunity to work the rest of the map control, because there's possibly, it's Cruelty, but I said there's no possibility to go for a flank here just because you have the man disadvantage. You have site utility to play around. Smoke is still alive. So going for an aggressive play probably isn't the most optimal situation just because you have utility to play behind. Ash has died early on in the round, so you could possibly use the mirror windows to stop this attack from QoR. And that means with QoR getting this map control, they can work the vertical, they can open up the rest of these hatches, and then figure out where they want to execute from. It's going to be really hard to execute with the mirror window staring right in front of you. I'm hoping it's in Logi or in blue this time, but actually they placed one here on the triple wall that we saw earlier on in this round, and so it's going to make it hard to really walk down these main stairs.
Double committing the Toxic Babes as well. One on main stairs, one on Moto. And it's time to perfection with only 20 seconds left in the round as he slips away into blue, ready for the stock drop. He knows he's still got one more charge if he needs it. And Team Cruelty bait them into church and can now walk forward aggressively. Mosey has to try and get the plant down. He's committing to it behind the plant, behind the box. He comes off from the desk, and Cruelty pick up another round as they play so well for that retake.
It's like, not only did they bait them into the church take, but they also baited Rival to go for that hatch drop, freeing up any pressure that QoR could have applied by blue, making that push, just like how it was the previous round, extremely one-dimensional. The smoke grenades allowed the smoke to be able to rotate into blue to team up with the Wamai for that hatch drop to come down blue, just in case the Wamai dies. The smoke is still alive, and you can work a perfect trade down in blue. Once Cruelty got that kill into blue, they then killed the bottom stairs player, who was previously held off by the smoke and couldn't really help the Monty in the last few seconds of that round. So yeah, a really good closeout from Team Cruelty, isolating the pressure that QoR was applying across the map. Despite them having the man disadvantage and losing a ton of map control early on, they still work the end round really well against QoR in order to win it.
Back upstairs. They don't want to rerun that basement again, Shaka, right? Because we've kind of seen Cruelty, they want it outright, but
Yeah.
they have to move. Going upstairs. I don't know how I feel about Cash, right? It's still one of these weird ones, but I will give you this. It's probably better than Bar. A little bit of late reinforcement coming through on that main breach, but you get it done in time. There was a couple worrying shots coming through in their direction, but all's well that ends well.
I like how QoR bring floors this round. That's going to really help with getting rid of some of the castles around this first floor, making the lobby hold from Skimzy a lot harder to pull off without the presence of the castle barricade in stock. So it's going to make it easier for QoR to pressure out that lobby player, then make it easier for the Monty to then walk up the garage stairs in order to apply pressure on the Raptors player. So I really like that QoR are kind of thinking a little bit outside of the box in order to find ways of dealing with garage.
Closing off the window inside a garage with the castle barricades also pretty interesting. Kiba's being thrown out, preempting the Monty's walk forwards, allows Castle to drop down into Oil Pit as well. Another opportunity to try and catch them off guard. I do like the bringing of the Monty to try and clear out this rafters though.
Also have Castle. Also have Capital. So I mean, that's another way to deal with it. They position the Capital just outside of the garage double breach here. That's gonna help with cutting off the rotation through the garage window, or even just dealing with a garage player, the player on the garage window that's usually there in support of the Raptors player.
Seems to have that information, have the read at the very least that Scopus is lurking around Lounge. Wouldn't be the first time we've seen Team Cruelty try and get quite aggressive towards the outside of the building. Support coming into stock now to try and find a way to pinch any potential Lounge presence. With Pyro taking out Candle on your main breach, you lose a big pressure point in pushing the Azami out of rafters. You lose that second angle, and Ivan gets aggressive as well before teleporting up to master bedroom, making sure there's no way to capitalize on that temporary gain of information. Now walking in for the 1 versus 1, you have Frios down below and no one on the defensive end still down in Lounge. But he can't get too aggressive, he has to just kind of wait. Team support now on the garage door, with the punch coming through as well as a little bit of damage, but not enough to land a fatal blow. Goes for the peak, will lose out the one. Matumbo swings for a second. Deagle preempting a third, but waits out patiently instead. The Nitrocell shot in midair, but it only acts as a bait for Pyrox to continue the aggression shown from Cruelty in this round and push them one step closer to that all-important 3-point victory that they want to get down. They want to push themselves. They want to leapfrog over QoR in the standings and still keep a game in hand.
And the inability to really clear out that first floor made it harder for QoR to go for the play in bottom garage using the capital boats. That's what they were really worried about. That's why they cleared the floor the council barricades around the first floor preemptively, because they really wanted to remove that first floor player out, knowing that there was still someone there. That not only caused the castle's death because he went for an isolated gunfight, giving Ivan a chance to kill him. But yeah, they lost the capital as a result of that. That made it harder to then go for Raptor's position, because even though he's entering from bottom garage, you could still bank the capital boats from the ceiling objects right onto the Raptor's position, and then it makes it easier for the Monty to push up and then cut off Skimzy on that Azami as he's trying to rotate away from the fires. Because the fires now are gone, it makes it so much easier for the Azami to isolate the two players trying to entry from the bottom garage door. And that's exactly what QoR gave him. 2 isolated gunfights in the garage made it very hard then, after the losing 2 players, to go for a Raptors control, and it really shut down that whole push for QoR just because they lost that capital early.
Long angle being held. This is a classic repel, as they just, again, want to try and clear up as much the opening as possible. Open Logi hatch 2 gives Pyrox something else to think about, playing on his little extension away. Jacuzzi breach being prioritized earlier for Team Cruelty this time around.
It's going to be wide open. You may have somebody just run right on in. That's Pyrox to find the very first opening kill. This might just be the quickest last round on match point that we've seen in Crucible yet. QoR go for a rush and they get immediately shut down as a result. While, well, Inria does find it down, it doesn't matter in the end, because Team Cruelty smoke QoR in the very last round, and on defense really shut QoR out for most of the game, playing into that stall utility, killing crucial operators like the Capital in the last round by giving isolated ones to QoR. Really confirmed the rounds for Cruelty that they needed at the end of the day to get their second regulation win in Crucible.
Yeah, I mean, they just, at the end, they wanted to end it, right? They were waiting on the windows, they got aggressive in CCTV, and they punished QoR for thinking that they could, instead of going for that full set clear, right? Don't deal with cash, don't worry too much about server, let's get that Jacuzzi breach and play around highway. They showed why, right? You have to pay that respect, you have to follow all the steps. Let's get Glitter back in here.
Back and forth through the first half, right? Very evenly matched. Pyrox kind of going crazy on the first half. But in the end, it was kind of just pedal towards. Absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think another thing that, like, I kind of wanted to focus on was, I said at the beginning that, like, giving Cruelty isolated ones is one of their main win conditions. QoR kind of just, like, did that the whole entire round. That's one thing that I complimented them on, was the fact that they do, like, in some cases, they do like to play passive, maybe too passive at times, especially on their defenses, and they can play really well around each other, and I just didn't really see enough of that. It was just, like, most of the rounds that they lost was because they kept just giving isolated gunfights to Cruelty, who we know full and well can capitalize off of that.
Yep, that's right. Don't feed them 1v1s or they're gonna eat for sure. and they cleaned up in that last 2. Oh man, just having an absolutely crazy game. So solidified themselves a win. We're gonna be moving on to match number 2. So sit back, relax as we get this lobby set up. Or excuse me, match number 3 as we get this lobby set up.